I think aviation, if you go back as far as its inception, it's always intrigued people, it's always captivated them, they're fascinated by it.
Ada has always been kind of on the leading and cutting edge. I'm proud of the fact that I think the center of that gravity is the airport. I think aviation has always been at the forefront there.
I'm convinced that our students are going to be offered opportunities. That's the name of the game right there. It's opportunity. Opportunity for students. Had I had this opportunity when I was their age, it probably would have changed my life.
When you step into this realm and you understand what opportunities can be available in aviation, it's more than just flying an airplane.
There's 29 high schools in the United States that are field testing this curriculum.
Ada High School is the only school in the state of Oklahoma field testing the new curriculum, and we're very, very pleased about that.
It will set Ada apart. It will set Ada City Schools apart.
Ada's on the map for a lot of things, but this is cutting edge and this is being on the forefront, and it's a big deal.
We were able to visit with the folks from the AOPA, the Aircraft Owner Pilots Association. And at that time when we visited with them, they let us know that they were going to field test some new high school aviation curriculum. And so we immediately were interested. The local members of Chapter 1005 of the EAA, the Experimental Aircraft Association out at Ada Regional Airport, approached us and said, hey, we'd love to be in the school district in some way. But more than that, they said, we've heard about a new aviation symposium that started last year, and we would like to pay your airfare for you and for Andrea Appleman, our lead STEM coordinator, to go to Seattle, Washington.
So they actually paid for Paul and I to fly to Seattle a couple of years ago. We applied to be a field test school, we get approved for that, and it's just kind of taken off almost uncontrollably, in a good way.
And so that trip allowed us to visit an aviation high school there in Seattle, actually on Boeing campus. It was the second annual STEM Symposium. We met people from AOPA, other members from EAA that were there, and school systems from across the United States that were either beginning some aviation programs or were interested in doing so.
This type of spirit of wanting to get young people into aviation so that aviation survives. And a lot of that comes through people like EAA members. They love aviation. It's obviously paramount in Ada, and you'll see it across the entire state.
STEM is science, technology, engineering, and math, and school districts are trying to make science come to life.
I vaguely can remember doing some dissections in high school biology, but what a thrill that was to be able to have that hands-on experience and how much I learned from that. So when I began teaching, I just looked for simple ways to bring in these hands-on activities, and I realized that if I could get the kids engaged in trying to challenge them and push them beyond what they have been used to, especially in their science classes.
Instead of just going to take a science course, we're trying to do some hands-on activities, some hands-on learning programs that students will say, hey, okay, I get where science can be used in a career, in a job, and it brings it to life. The aviation program is part of our new STEM push. We've written numerous grants. We're in the process right now of writing some additional grants. We've received grants from the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission, from Tinker Air Force Base, some from the local Ada City School Foundation.
With every class that Andrea teaches in aviation, that's one less science teacher I have to teach biology or physical science or whatever that is. So the district has a commitment here too. It'll be a science elective and STEM elective. These will all go towards graduation purposes and hopefully take them to a career that will pay dividends later.
The core of our success in aviation and aerospace is science and engineering. For us to maintain that edge, we have to replenish because people age out.
There are so many opportunities for our kids, and these are all emerging sectors that are going to need employees moving forward. There's a huge demand for that. There's so many different paths they can choose to go down. We should be creating those opportunities, and that's why I'm excited as the city to be able to play a part in helping create that understanding and advocate for the sector.
curriculum is being written as we speak. So they have the 9th grade curriculum in place. Right now they're writing the 10th grade curriculum. And so next year we'll have 9th graders and 10th graders. The following year 11th grade curriculum will be released, and the following year after that 12th grade. So in 3 or 4 years here we're going to have full-fledged aviation programming in grades 9 through 12.
It has 3 pathways. One of them is a pilot pathway, the other is unmanned aircraft systems or drones, and then the other is aeronautical engineering.
This first year, all of the 9th graders are in this introductory course. They will not have to make a decision as to which path they're going to take until next year.
We have this great new airport and terminal. Let's get the kids out there. Let them see what the jobs are, because it's not just being a pilot. For every pilot, there's like 25 jobs that are connected to being a pilot, whether you're a flight attendant or you're a mechanic or you're the engineer or whatever it is. And so we've made relationships with Southeastern and University of Oklahoma and getting our kids aware of college and degrees. And you get your students at the beginning of the year and you hear the grumblings of, I don't really like science and I'm not very good at it. But then when you hear them say, this is my favorite class, or I had no idea I was good at science, and then to be able to offer this aviation program and to make that connection with those kids and try to bring it all together, it's so rewarding and it's so exciting, because those kids have opportunities that I didn't have and that a lot of people didn't have. The cool thing about it is their junior year, they will either get their ground school pilot's license, they will get their drone license, or they will get certificate of 3D printing and engineering. So there is a certification associated with the program. Next year, I'll be teaching Intro to Aviation here. They're going to let me teach it at the high school as well, so that I can pick up some of those kids at the high school that I've missed. And then I'll also have the sophomore level class, at least one.
My heart goes out to those kids that were introduced to this but are not 9th graders this year, that may be 10th or 11th graders that have a real interest in aviation now because of the awareness programs that we put together. I can think of a number of kids that have come to us and man, I wish this was available when I was a 9th grader. So they're not able to enroll in those classes, but the awareness programs that we're putting in place and all of the after school and Saturday school and the extra programming that we have, they can participate.
The folks here at the Ada Airport have been tremendous in backing us and helping our kids, inviting them to the airport.
We strengthened some partnerships within the community of Ada, GAMI, Tornado Alley, the city of Ada, the Ada Regional Airport, the EAA chapter, and then just local community members that came up and said, hey, I see what you guys are doing in aviation. I want to be a part of it. One gentleman donated a flight simulator just out of the blue.
I learned that the runway has to be long enough so that if the jet gets full power and doesn't take off, you have to have enough runway that it can come to a complete stop without crashing. And now my kids understand. Plus, you know, we talked about the weight of the fuel. We talked about humidity. We talked about temperature. We talked about all of those things that affect how much runway you need to take off or to land. We read charts and we, you know, made those calculations, and it was like, to me, you know, I'm a science nerd, but that's pretty cool. And then to get to go to the airport and actually get to drive the bus down the runway, you know, it all made sense, and they got to see the width and the length of the runway and the lights, and it just kind of brings it all together. Even if you're not a science nerd, it's still pretty cool.
The business and industry entities on our own airport come forward and say, you're welcome in our building. Let us help you teach STEM. That's remarkable.
Maybe still an undiscovered diamond in Ada, but in the rest of the world, and particularly the general aviation world, if you go to something like EAA Air Venture in Oshkosh, everybody knows about GAMI and Tornado Alley. They are really world-renowned and one of the most respected aviation businesses in the world for what they've done with fuel injectors, their work to perfect an unleaded fuel for general aviation. They're just seen as experts.
Having an airport that is the classification that ours is helps commerce, it helps economic development. In that normal course of doing business, our partners have come alongside us and created that awareness and that advocacy and that education that we're able to take into the classroom.
We're the world's leader in aviation and aerospace. The lifeblood of it is workforce. Getting young people to go into that industry, it's important.
By having an airport like this and having the assets and infrastructure in place, it encourages that development And in that, jobs are created, and then people move to our community, and then those folks buy goods and services in our community. And it's one more thing that because we have it, makes the community sustainable.
It's still one of the absolute best and most exciting industries a young person can go into, and the best paying. Here in Oklahoma alone, it's our second largest industry. Its average salary is $73,300. We're the only state still that has a tax credit for engineers that will go to work in aviation and aerospace. And that also encourages aerospace employers like Boeing, that has moved about 2,500 scientists and engineers here, and Northrop Grumman, that has moved about 500 scientists and engineers here. And there are options, great options, in the aviation and aerospace industry for young people that don't want to go to college. We have the world's largest military aircraft repair facility, Tinker Air Force Base, and we have the world's largest commercial aircraft repair facility, the American Airlines Maintenance Base in Tulsa. And then we have the world's largest independent provider of maintenance, repair, and overhaul, AAR, right here in Oklahoma City, one of their biggest sites. So just a lot of opportunities. You don't necessarily have to go to college to find a very worthwhile and satisfying and fulfilling career in aviation.
Because you have people that are willing to invest their time, and because they have a passion for this industry, and then the willingness and desire to put those efforts and talents to work, they recognize the benefit that it is. It's an investment in our future. It's an investment in our city. It's an investment in these kids. And I think that is the reward enough.
Having lived in this community most of my life, I know the people, and I know how sincere they are about wanting our children to thrive. Even at a time when funding for schools in Oklahoma is at an all-time low, we still have people who want to be progressive, who are forward-thinking and say, hey, we'll help.
We couldn't do it without the community and the partnerships that we've been able to align. Every time we asked someone to be a part of this, they said yes. Not one person has ever said no. I think the people that we've approached have the same passion for not only just aviation or STEM, but for kids. And our community partnerships and our statewide partnerships and now nationwide partnerships with the AOPA and the Oklahoma Aeronautics Commission have allowed us to do some things that a year ago I wouldn't have thought were possible. If you don't have the right people in place, nothing good's going to come of it. I don't care how much money you throw at it. If you don't have the right people there, it's just not going to happen. Ada always seems to have the right people.